Right now we're going to make creme brulee, a wonderful classic French dessert. It is what we call a cooked custard as opposed to a stirred custard like creme anglaise or a sauce of some or pudding like that. It is a must do ahead, kind of like cheesecake. It needs to set for a couple of hours or up to overnight, but it is also a blank canvas. Something that you can add a bunch of different flavorings to. We like to stick with classic vanilla. Sometimes we add a little touch of cognac or brandy, but you could add almost any flavorings you want. We're going to start with our eggs. We always like to show the easiest and best way to separate eggs. We crack it on a flat surface, we crack it into a clean vessel. Then with nice clean hands, we're going to reach in and take out the yolk. We can kind of pass it back and forth between our fingers as opposed to passing it back and forth between the shell. One, it's easier to puncture the yolk, and also any bacteria that may be on the outside of the shell, it may be easier then for it to get inside the egg yolk. Now we're going to combine our eggs and our sugar. I like to do this in a stand mixer. You can do this in a bowl with a whisk at home if you'd like. This just makes it a little easier, especially when we go to add our warm milk products to our egg yolks. So I'm adding my 4 egg yolks and 1 whole egg to my stand mixer, and then I'm going to beat this until it's kind of lightened up in color, looks sort of pale and a little bit thicker. Meanwhile, I have my cream in a pan that's simmering or bringing up to a simmer, and we're trying to scald our cream, which means to bring it just below the boiling point. Don't want to let it boil over, and you don't want it to truly boil. We're just bringing this up until we see nice kind of wisps of steam coming out of it. You can make creme brulee in almost any dish you want as long as it is oven safe. I like to use these little foil pans. You can get them online at Amazon.com. Or you can use a traditional ramekin like this. These work great. The larger you make, the bigger the portion. We also have used these cute little heart-shaped ones. As long as they are oven safe, we're good to go. We put them in a larger pan, what we call a hotel pan or a roasting pan, anything that has a nice high lip on it, because we're going to add water that comes up about half the side, or halfway up the side of the creme brulee dish. So you want to make sure that the pan is taller than that. Kind of like baking a cheesecake, all right? So our cream mixture has started to get just a little bit of bubbles around the outside. And as you can see, maybe there are some wisps of steam. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, when I go to add my milk mixture or cream mixture to my eggs, I want to go very slowly, and I want to keep the eggs moving so that they don't curdle. If you're doing this by hand, it'd be a lot more difficult, kind of patting your head and rubbing your stomach, all that sort of stuff. But I like to do it in the stand mixer, like I said, and I like to use a pot that has a lid, because this, I can just rest on the side of my stand mixer and slowly drizzle in the cream. This way I know my eggs keep moving, I'm not adding it too quickly, and I'm not going to shock the eggs into curdling. And once you get most of it in there, you can go ahead and pour it in. I'm going to give that a minute just to mix through to make sure that all of the sugar has been incorporated and that the cream and the eggs have fully made a homogeneous mixture. Now we're going to add our flavorings. Always, always, always want to use vanilla, no matter what flavorings you're going to add. But we like to use vanilla paste in general, but we like to use it now because it has those little wonderful flecks of vanilla caviar, and that's going to kind of be seen throughout the whole custard. So we're going to add some of that. A little more. We're going to add about a tablespoon of cognac. If you don't have cognac, you can use brandy, you can use Creme, Frangelico, any sort of flavoring you want. We always like to add it at the end. About a tablespoon or so. And don't forget a pinch of salt in every dessert you make. We're going to let that mix together. And then we're ready to put it in our pans. One thing I like to show people before we add our custard to our creme brulee dishes is we're going to pour our mixture into a spouted measuring cup. It's going to make all the difference in the world when you go to pour it into your little creme brulee dishes. It may not all fit, you don't need to put all of it in at once, but just enough for it to be manageable. And now I can carefully pour my custard mixture into my creme brulee pans without making a mess in the pan, without using a ladle. And we're gonna fill them about 3/4 of the way full. This doesn't rise, it's not a souffle, but we can always go back and top it off. Almost. We'll go back and make them all even. One more little thing we want to do before we take it over to our oven and bake our custard. We like to take our creme brulee torch and we want to get rid of all of the bubbles that are on the surface of the creme brulee. It doesn't look very good, and we want to go ahead and get rid of them. So we start with our torch and we're just going over it very, very quickly. You'll see just how fun it is to pop all those little bubbles that have risen to the surface. Now, we're going to bring this over to our oven first, put it in the rack of our oven, and then we pour in our water to make our bain-marie. If not, you'll pour the water in over here and sloshing it the entire way over to your oven. So always fill it at your oven. So my creme brulee is ready to go into the oven, and before I put in my water, I like to take one custard out, put it on the side, and then pour in the water until it comes up just about halfway up the side of your creme brulee dishes. There we go. This is going to help the custard cook nice and evenly. Now we'll put our other custard back. And now, push it back in. It's a 300-degree oven for about 45 minutes, but always check because ovens vary. But what we're looking for is the edges to be set and the center to just still be slightly jiggly. So our custards are fully cooked and have chilled overnight. You don't have to do them overnight, but at least 2 to 3 hours. You want to make sure that the center has fully cooled. They look beautiful, perfectly pale on the top, and now we are going to brulee them. This is what makes them creme brulee. We're going to take some sugar, about a teaspoon. It all depends on the size of the dish. You don't want too much sugar. If you add too much sugar and it has a layer of granulated sugar, you can actually brulee the top and there'll still be granulated sugar underneath. That's not what we're looking for. So we're going to sprinkle some of our granulated sugar over the top, and then I like to kind of shake it around to make sure it's nice and evenly distributed. And then we are going to use a fun piece of kitchen equipment. This is called a kitchen torch. You can buy them at specialty food stores. You can buy them at hardware stores. They're great. And I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn it upside down and come from away and move closer. And I'm going to start to move the torch around until my sugar has started to melt. And I can always back it off. After you are finished using your blowtorch, remember the rim of your creme brulee dish is going to be incredibly hot. Don't try and pick it up like this. We can always pick it up from the bottom, but now, as you can see, we have a beautifully bruleed top that'll be nice and crunchy as soon as you go to put your spoon in it. Enjoy. If you don't have one of these wonderful kitchen torches, you can do this in the oven under the broiler. Just make sure you do not walk away from it. It can go from nice and golden brown to black and burnt in no time. So you want to stick it under the broiler for about 30 seconds, 90 seconds, it all depends on the strength of your broiler, just until the top turns this beautiful golden brown color. And remember, then the entire dish is going to be hot.